Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I had a decision to make. Do I jump in and get the, last night movie leader class figures for $75? Or do I spend 20 bucks less and get the Wave 5 Titans Return Overlord? Well, I think when it comes to Transformers, this one's going to win for me, hands down. But let's see if he was actually a good investment. We're going to cover everything to do with this guy in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, share, check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor. Have a look for me everywhere, spend some time on the channel. Stay tuned, some interesting stuff coming up. Of course, check out Universal Collision, my stop motion series, and see what it is that catches your attention. Now, this is Overlord. Before I get into him, I'm going to show you a picture. Now, if you don't know what that picture was, it was a set of G1 Constructicons that I found when I was out thrift shopping, and they were $3.99. Now, the chrome looked great on them. They all seem to be intact. I can't verify if all Devastator's pieces were there, but boy, oh boy, is that not an absolute treat. Just goes to show that you never know where you might strike upon a deal. Which I did with this guy because he was actually mispriced, and I got him for significantly cheaper than what I even should have. I said $20 cheaper. No. This guy, because of whatever was done with the pricing, I actually got him for a little less than what I would spend on a Titans Return Voyager, if you can believe that. I don't know why, but boy am I thankful for it. So, we're going to take him out of it, and we're going to begin with, as always, his box. And here's the box form. It's just a box and nice artwork on the side where he has his head either going on or coming off the body. And of course, on the back we have the product shots and the little bio that basically says he's a walking arsenal, which if you're familiar with the character at all, you already know that he's a walking arsenal. We have not had these Wave 4 Titan Masters in my neck of the woods yet, or the Voyagers. So what do? But we do have this guy. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Overlord, I'm just going to touch on this real brief. He's basically a walking arsenal. In Japan, in the Masterforce series, he was made up of 2 parts, and he is still 2 parts. He's technically a duocon. And it was Giga and Mega. I think Mega was the jet, and I think Giga was the tank. And they were 2 humans who were binary bonded, and when combined, made Overlord. By the end of that series, the 2 of them were, I don't know, finished off, died, made away with, whatever, and the Transector became sentient, and Overlord became his own character, I suppose you could say. He led the Decepticons just for a little bit after the fall of Devil Z and before the rise of Deathsaurus. So that's kind of where he sort of fits traditionally. Of course, if you're an IDW fan, he has been featured there as well. My understanding, and I could be wrong, was that we never got a G1 release of this guy around here. I believe he, of course, came out in Japan. He might have come out in Australia, maybe Asia, but I don't think that he was released in North America, if I'm not mistaken, though a lot of those Power Masters did have North American counterparts. I don't think this guy was one of them. So technically, this is probably really the first kind of mass retail release of this guy. So that's kind of cool. So we look at the paint apps. They're okay. I'm going to score them at about an 8. The blue should be darker. His kind of entire top of his foot should really be all purple. The dark gray used in on his arm should be the color of the rest of the arm. His chest isn't quite accurate. There should, at the very least, kind of be a teal outline around it. And there should be gold over here. Now I know what you're thinking. Whoa, 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 GotBot. But his chest is closed now, granted. And I can't remember how accurate this is to when his chest is closed. I'm really only going off of my memory of when Giga and Mega are put into his chest. And if you look at the Legends version, that does fix those paint apps. So it is definitely a little more accurate. But this still certainly isn't bad. And it is quite accurate to the toy, which is a lot of times with this line what we have been getting from Titan's Return. A lot of toy accurate stuff. Or at least a lot more toy accurate stuff. I do dig it though. That being said, I mentioned about the chest. You can open these panels up and you could put 2 Titan Masters in there. I have a funny feeling though that though they'll be labeled as something else, we're probably going to get a couple of Prime Masters in the Power of the Primes line that are going to be able to go in these chest cavities. Some heads don't fit, other ones go in very, very, very tightly. So be careful what heads you put in the chest, because once they're stuck, it is not fun to get them out. Can his own head, Titan Master Dreadnaut go fit in there? Yes, he can, quite tightly. I had trouble getting him out, but Dreadnaut can. Dreadnaut is actually supposed to be reminiscent, I believe, of Giga. So, that's kind of a lot for paint apps. Before we go on with the paint apps, I'm just going to take this guy out of it for a second. Or I guess I should say before we go on with articulation. He does come with, you know, a pretty substantial booklet, you know, instructions, yay. And of course, as always, we have the ever popular collector card. It's a nice one, nice artwork. It's kind of dark though, so it's not the easiest to see. If we look on the back of the card, you can see the tech specs there. You know, his strength kind of makes sense, his intelligence makes sense, the speed makes sense, all of it makes sense. And look at the fire blast. Again, like I said, the guy's basically a walking arsenal. If I'm not mistaken, I think he has a munitions factory within his body. I mean, come on. I had also mentioned Dreadnaut, so we're going to look at him a little bit closer right now. And though the paint isn't exactly accurate, my understanding is that the sculpting is supposed to be reminiscent of, see if I can get this closer, reminiscent of Giga. It looks good. I don't know why just the head is painted and none of the body, but whatever. Again, ball joint at the head, at the shoulders, they can move a little bit. He can get in a seated position. This guy is pinned at the hips. You know, again, it's about a 2. It's your typical Titan Master. If you put the arms down to the side and you flip them over, hey, look at that, you got a robot face. It's a nice looking face. I think it's kind of cool that the Japanese version is coming with 2 alternating faces based on Giga and Mega, so I think that's cool. But this is a nice one all the same. Of course, it just slots into the head. I'll show that now. It's quite easy. Bring this big guy back in. This just slots into the head up here. And we bring his helmet down over. And that's kind of where we are too. Okay, so we have 8 so far. And I'm not really gonna, you know, balance things out with the Titan Master. They're up there. His look, though, is very svelte. I absolutely love it. You could leave the plain chunk that's on his shoulder over here. Let me just back this up a bit. the plane chunk that's on his shoulder over here, that's where it belongs. But it can stay affixed to the back, and even without it, like, there's no kibble really on this guy. I don't really call the jet piece kibble because that's the way he looked in animation, that's the way he's supposed to be. I do have his blaster, which he comes with, put on his shoulder. There is a hole, I guess I'll show this too. There's a hole way down right there where you can also store it if you don't want it in his hand. Naturally, I wiggle it out, and if I can see what I'm doing here, there, he can hold it in his hand just fine, no issues at all. What I do like is that this one doesn't have, much like Skyshadow, this one it's just a blaster. It's not made, it's not meant to be for a Titan Master to sit in or anything. It's just a nice little blaster, well, a nice big blaster. So we're just going to lay that aside for a few moments. Articulation, that's what we're going to move on to next. And you'll have to pardon me, it's really warm here today, 31 degrees Celsius. So under the lights and whatnot is a little bit challenging. So the articulation for this guy, well, the head, it can go around 360 degrees. It can jiggle up and down, but I don't know if I would really give that to him as articulation. The arms, they can go around 360 and out to the side nicely, even though he has those pointy spike pauldrons on his shoulders. He has a bicep swivel up here. He has a nice deep elbow, little over 90 degrees, maybe 92, 93 degrees, and the hands can sort of angle in and angle out, but that's really because of the transformation. And then we come to his waist. Take those down. And he can do this, if that's any good to you. Molded in detail there. I don't know if Skyshadow has that joint or not. If so, it is extremely tight and extremely unusable. Mine doesn't seem to have it, but it's really loose in this guy, and if these panels in the back aren't secured in, he's really quite out of package. These weren't attached on mine, so I'll attach them there. And this piece was up over his head like that. This is the piece that the nose of the jet will attach to, so out of package you do have to bend it down. Mine was quite tight, so something to note. He does not have a waist, but what's interesting is there are these two little molded sections right here on his lower pelvis waist, and there's a hole there as if a pin would go through it. But there's nothing to attach to it. I don't know if it's just accurate detail or what. By the way, when I was talking about his paint, I forgot to mention that his black kind of pelvis section there should also be blue. But you know, it is what it is. This might be for a future remolding, possibly. I don't know. Maybe something that's going to come up with Power of the Primes. Who knows? The legs can go all the way out to the side. He can do the splits with the best of them. They can go all the way back, all the way forward. We do have a thigh swivel. You can do that with his knee. And in terms of a knee bend, you know, it's a little under 90, but it's effective for the size that this guy is. I have an alternate transformation done with his feet. Naturally, his feet should be, you know, up straight like that, just like they are on Skyshadow. But I've seen this alternate configuration. I think the intention is to make him tall enough to rival God Gingrai. But I'm cool with that. I'm cool with a slightly alternate transformation there. And the guy has super deep ankle tilt. Articulation. I scored very high on Skyshadow. He was missing a waist and that was it, and I hadn't even noticed it. I did notice it on this guy. I noticed it on this guy because I noticed on this guy because of how his body can lean back and lean back so easily. I'm going to score his articulation at about an 8 as well. It's good, but a waist swivel would have been nice. Maybe even wrist swivel, but I can forgive the wrist swivel. Still, waist would have been nice. So that's kind of what we have there. I've mentioned Skyshadow a couple of times so far. And I looked at this guy in episode 256. So there they are next to each other. And honestly, you know, there's so much remolded that even though the transformation scheme is you know, basically the same thing, I feel like it really comes across as two separate molds, two separate characters, at least from the waist up. The plane is pretty much totally redone. The waist down, yeah, okay, that's admittedly the same thing. Their legs are interchangeable with each other. The Titan Masters, of course, are interchangeable with each other. So you can mix and match to get your perfect, you know, Skyshadow and Overlord if you are so inclined. But yeah, that's your comparison of these two guys. Taking him out of it, again, we're going to jump into the transformation quickly. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we've already really seen it with Skyshadow for the most part. This thing on his arm, I will take that off. And I have it off screen because I really need to kind of have it off screen in order to do the part that I want to do. Okay, so this is where Dreadnaut can go. You could seat him in here and his little foot piece would tab into a little section right there. Now I find that opening this cockpit is extremely challenging. Really hard. I find it drives me nuts. But you know, that's just me maybe. You could put him in there and of course he would be able to close up, and that could, and I knocked him over. You can close it up and close it up, and this would be the jet skid thing that you can put Dreadnaut in. There are little landing skids right there, little struts that flip down. So we're going to just leave that off for now, and we're going to take this guy and undo these two back panel sections and take him apart. We're going to focus on his legs first and show the tank off. It is the exact same thing as we had with Skyshadow, so I'm not going to waste much time on it. You close up the feet and close up the feet. By the way, these are stickers on his legs that stick okay. Stickers on his legs there aren't too bad. Decepticon symbol sticker here and here. There, well, we'll talk about them when he's in tank mode. You flip this around, you bend him at the knee all the way around, you bring all of that in, you tab it all together. And that's really it. You would take the cannon, there's a hole right there, and you would put that down and boom, there you go. There's the tank mode, and if you really wanted, you could put a Titan Master or Dreadnought in right there. It can connect to the plane of Skyshadow using this same connector up top. That does not work for the plane of Overlord. Instead, now what we have, and I'm going to see if I can show this. Now what we have is a little opening right there and a little opening right there. And part of the plane is going to go into that opening. So we're going to take this off of it, and it rolls fine. It's no problem. It's easy, quick, easy transformation. We're going to take this off for now. We're going to come to the upper body. And the upper body, we turn the head around this time. We still collapse the fists in just like we did with Skyshadow. We straighten out this arm and collapse it, straighten out this arm and collapse it. There's a little, where is it? See if I can show it. There's a little tab down right here that goes into a little slot just inside the arm right there. So you take this and bring out that wing and bring back that wing. You bring out that wing, you bring up that wing, and you collapse the two of these in onto the body. Pretty straightforward so far. You bring these down and tab them back in, and then this whole backpack piece comes up and over. And you might say, whoa, that's not quite a plane. No, and you're right, it's not quite a plane. We have a blue connector here and a blue connector here. So what we would do is we would take that little plane piece, and I guess I'll lay this down and show this. Here we have a black rectangular peg and a black rectangular peg, and they will attach in like that, and now we have our plane. And it looks really cool, it's really sleek, except that the wings are awfully little wings, but I guess his engines, his arm engines, are pretty enormous. This pinstripe detailing, all stickers. This is a sticker. These, I think, are stickers. The Decepticon symbol that's a little off center up front is also a sticker. Most of the stickers look okay on this guy, and I haven't noticed any peeling as of yet. If you are so inclined now, you can attach them like I said. How do you do that? Well, it requires opening the chest again. And the chest have little rectangular pegs right there and right there. Those holes that I showed on the side of the tank is where those go into. So, putting that on, he's going to end up looking like this. And I mean, it rolls fine. It's, if you hold it in here, it's a secure enough connection. It is not as secure as the tank and plane that make up Skyshadow. You know, if you pick them up from the side here, it's okay on mine, but I have seen copies where that really doesn't peg in well. So I'm going to say that the tolerances are going to vary a lot here, an absolute lot. But again, there you go. You can do that if you are so inclined. You could also, and I'll open this up. If you are so inclined and you said, hey, I don't really want, you know, to put them together, but I don't really want them to be apart. You know, there's been a fan mode where you can keep it all together, and I'm saying fan mode, I don't know, maybe it was an official mode. About the closest approximation that you can get of that here would be to take both of these, put them back together, and then sort of fold his legs kind of up over the top of the plane. It doesn't look great, and I only got it done quick there, so it's not exactly lined up perfectly well or anything, but you get the idea. You can do that. Now I'm going to put him back in robot mode, and we will go from there to the base, and I want to show one other weird thing in robot mode. Okay, so I forgot to show this earlier, and now is as good a time as any because we'll go from here into the base mode. So, this piece of course goes on his arm, but it can also go attached to his chest. There is a little white, off-white rectangular peg right by my index finger here, and that can fit into a slot right there on the chest. Now, this doesn't open to reveal any hidden weaponry. These don't actually fire, these are just molded in pieces, but you can take the plane and put it on the front as extra armor. I don't know if he ever did that, I don't really remember. I don't know why you would want to do that. I think it looks better on his arm. Now that being said, if this had been animation accurate, I would probably be saying, hey, it looks silly on his arm. This is the way it should be. So, you know, I'm sure that I'm a little bit colored there. If this works for you, it's an option. You can certainly do it. I guess it works okay, but it certainly gives a very different look. And I suggest to you that as secure as it is, and it is very secure, that it might, it doesn't really limit articulation of the legs. You know what? I stand corrected. That is a fine option if you are inclined to do it and you want to. Go for it, man. Go for it. So, continuing on with the transformation. Remember, this guy's currently scoring an 8 overall because of his paint and his articulation. So how do we do this transformation? I'm going to show you what's stock, and then I'm going to show you just a very slight, small alteration that I do because of it being ever so slightly more reminiscent of his original base mode. It's splayed out a bit more. Okay, so to begin, we close up his fists again, and his arms, and we bring them in on the side of the body. We bring out that, and we bring out that. And I guess if you want to do... Oop. And we turn him around. Now, next we want to untab and untab these pieces on his back, and you're going to bring those down. They need to go out straight. Obviously they don't look straight there, but they will. Because using that joint, that waist joint now that we've unlocked, we flip this up. And now it will look like these are more straight, and you can actually bring them down and solidify them a little bit. And that's what we have so far. I guess we'll turn the head around just to be official, and we will flip this piece from his back up. So now that's covering his face again. Here's the front of his body again. Right? His face is into that cavity, the arms are solidified down. We bring the legs out to the side, and we turn them, and we turn them, because you want this hinge on the knee, the gray hinge on the knee, to be facing forward. We face that leg forward, we face that leg forward. We bring the toes together, and we bring the toes together. By the way, the connections for Triptychon are inside the toes. And that's kind of what we have right now. We flip out this piece. We can flip out this piece. You can flip out neither or both. I tend to flip out both. And finally, with the cockpit open and that bottom section open, now instead of putting this in like we would for plane mode, we turn it around and we put it in the opposite way. There and there for base mode. We do that, and we, if I can find the opening there, we implant the cannon, and that's your base mode. It's an okay base mode. I mean, it's you can believe it as like a bit of a battle base, say. I'm all right with it. I think it works pretty good, and of course you can, you know, put Dreadnaut up here if you want. He's on the tower of the base. Whatever it is that works for you. Now, some people have complained and said, hey, this isn't exactly like his original base mode because his legs were more splayed out to the side and they opened up. And of course you can't open his legs up, but you could splay them out more to the side, open up the foot. Oop. Like that. And you can do the same over here and open up the top of the foot. And you could, I mean, you could splay them all the way out to the side if you're so inclined. But I feel like if you just turn them slightly like that, that is about as close of an approximation as you're likely to get to his original base mode. Naturally, if you want those like teal seafoam color ramps that he had, I mean, you could bring them out that way and have one of these flipped out and the other one flipped in, something like that, or neither one flipped out. This is not a great fan mode. It is not a great approximation still, but it might serve the purpose just a little bit more. And like I said, I do like it. I mean, I could very easily bring out the little toe tab right there and still connect this guy to Triptychon, no problem, which is eventually something that is gonna happen. Transformation is just as good as it was with Skyshadow. Everything is smooth, everything is nice. Granted, you do have to make sure to have these pieces tabbed into the back when he's in robot mode. Otherwise, he's gonna have a floppy bottom. I'm gonna give his transformation, this can be slightly hard to tab in, slightly, at least on my copy. I'm gonna give his transformation, again, an 8. I don't think anything's gonna break. He feels solid. He feels good, and that's a testament to the plastic used, I think. Overall, he's an 8. I was going to skip Skyshadow and just get the mold as this guy. And Starscream Girlfriend thought better and got me Skyshadow for my birthday. And you know what? Now that I have him in hand, I'm really glad that she did, because as good as this guy is, and he's pretty great, he doesn't wear the mold quite as well as Skyshadow does. Talk about living to be surprised. Anyway, let me know what you think of the Transformers Titans Return Leader Class Overlord. And you know I always like to hear from you, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together for another visit right here inside the videos.